live on Foul Territory. It's Hawk Harrelson, the great, legendary.
No, leave them on.
Wait, why?
Why are we taking those off?
Yeah. You want the sunglasses on or off? Hawk in the house, a neighbor of ours, and our first guest inside the studio.
Yeah. He's here. Look, I'm touching him, and he's like really here.
It's a real person. Yeah, you're doing the Maddox.
Yes, exactly. How are we feeling?
Maddox. Oh, I've got a little lightheadedness today, but it's my age. That's better than the alternative.
That's right. You're upright.
Exactly right. That's 81 going on. If you put this when I'm on my ass, I'm about 104.
Are you 81 or 82?
81.
Because I thought at some point you changed your age. You made yourself older or younger, didn't you, to get
Made
to
it
sign?
over.
So you're really 80 then?
Well, no, a guy went back.
Oh, you went back.
Yeah.
So you're like
81. But it's been a tough 81 years. Well, what this body's been through is unbelievable.
we're going to leave that for the X-rated show.
Yeah, right.
Because I've read your books and I know some of the things that were in there.
Yeah. I want to do another book.
Another third book?
I'm going to do another book, and I'm going to do it about my time with the White Sox.
Oh.
It's going to be interesting.
Where do we even start with your career, your life? At the beginning, you were all state in 4 states.
Well, I was voted one of the top 10 high school basketball players in the nation. And I signed a football scholarship to go to the University of Georgia.
Boo.
And
Boo?
Of course, when I signed.
Yeah, boo Georgia.
Boo.
I hate Georgia.
You played for the Braves.
Yeah, but I don't like Georgia. I don't like Florida State either. That's where his daughter went. So, I mean, boo Florida State too.
When the coach brought me up there to make a visit, he made a mistake because that was when Georgia was known as the Chicago Bears of college football. You could beat them score-wise, but they're going to beat the hell out of you physically. So he took me out to practice, and I'm watching him practice, and it was a hot day. And his line averaged about 270. And they're just beating the hell out of each other. And I'm thinking to myself, Coach, Wally Butts was his name. I said, Coach, you just made a big mistake. There's no way I'm going to play college football. But I had an interesting year. And then I signed to play baseball with Kansas City for a big bonus. And that voided the football scholarship, because back in those days you couldn't be a pro and go to college and play sports. So then I went into baseball, and of course, all parts of 8 decades later.
Still here.
Well, the thing about it is, I was reading my iPad this morning, and they were talking about the headline on the thing was experts are predicting the division winners.
Oh, they must have been referring to our show yesterday.
Is that right?
Well, that was AJ yesterday going over the AL Central.
There ain't no experts in baseball.
Tell him.
That's the beauty of the game. There are no experts. I still get a lot of fan mail, and people say, "Oh, you're an expert. What do you think about this?" Blah 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 blah. And if it's well constructed and everything, they leave a phone number. Sometimes I'll call them back. But that's the beauty of the game. I will say one thing for AJ. AJ belongs in the Hall of Fame. He does.
Which Hall of Fame? I'm in the Hall of Fame. Dr. Phillips Hall of Fame.
Well,
Polish Hall of Fame.
White Sox Hall of Fame?
They don't have one.
I've been watching AJ since he was a sophomore in high school, Dr. Phillips. And I will say it, even though he's sitting here, I'm played for a lot of managers and played with a lot of ball players. AJ actually knows more about the game than anybody I ever talked to. He's got a great baseball mind, and I tried to.
Kratz, you listening? You listening, Kratz?
Something must be wrong with my earpiece. Hawk, no hablo español, man.
I tried to get.
Now continue talking good things about me, Hawk. We have all day. We have no time left.
I tried to get Reinsdorf to hire him as the manager. When they were making the change, and I'll tell you, people like it. He's mentioned a lot in my fan mail. Is AJ as smart as you say he is? And he is. I used to say when we were playing Minnesota, when he was playing with the Twins, he was the most dangerous guy on that club because he pitched our guys exactly. Of course, he has a staff that had some good control, but he pitched our guys exactly the way they were supposed to be pitched, and that's why they beat us all the time. You know. And today you got guys, they're getting help in the clubhouse now with this ear stuff. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, what's going on in baseball today? I really am glad about the pitch clock because, as you know, Gabby Hartnett was a Hall of Fame catcher, and he was one of the coaches on the Kansas City team. And we were sitting on a plane one day, and I asked him, I said, Gabby, I said, what's the first criteria or first responsibility for a catcher and a major league pitcher? He said, first responsibility is get him in a rhythm. It might take a couple of innings, but get him in a rhythm and keep him there. Get the ball back to him, you know.
Hold on, I don't want to miss this.
And he said, get him in a rhythm, keep him in there. So you got guys out there today, they're taking, 20, 30 seconds in between pitches. And that stuff just doesn't work. I mean,
Plus, it bores you as an announcer.
It bores everybody.
20, 30. I thought you were going to say 40, 50 between pitches.
Well, some guys do, but that's, a good example. The opposite side of that page is Mark Burley. Mark Burley never in his whole career shook off one sign from a catcher.
Not true. He did me once.
Once?
He took a line drive off his forehead and he never did it again.
On that one pitch?
Yes. Hold on. Hold on. So I keep losing Hawk's mic here.
Move up. Move up.
He's got to move this way because it's stretched tight.
He didn't, when
There we go.
they asked me to go over and look at him when we first signed him, and I went over and watched him pitch 3 innings in spring training, and I'm saying to myself, this guy don't have shit. He don't throw hard. He's got a little spinner for a slider, a little spinner for a curveball. Meanwhile, he's probably going to go in the Hall of Fame, And but there are no experts in the game. That's why it's the beauty of the game. It's not played against the clock. When you're on offense, the other team controls the ball, and that's the only sport. I played them all, and the toughest sport that I've never played, that I've been watching a lot. My wife plays tennis a lot. Now, she's got me hooked on tennis. I don't see how those guys do it. They run more in one set than we would run in 2 weeks. Baseball player. I mean, and golf is a tougher sport than baseball as well. It's easy to hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball if you're looking for it. And if you're not looking for it, if you just go up there and just looking for the ball, Nolan Ryan's going to blow your behind away.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple. And then I saw this guy, Jordan, somebody. He hit 105 yesterday.
Jordan Hicks.
No, or the guy from the what's the guy's name for the Angels?
Ohtani?
No, the guy, the
Ohtani?
bullpen, the young kid bullpen guy from Tennessee that was
No,
100.
not Kenny Joyce, not Joyce.
Joyce. Yeah.
Oh,
Joyce.
Ben Joyce.
Ben Joyce was
Yeah.
106, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, for the
105.
Angels.
Well, again, it doesn't make any difference. You still, Ted Williams really helped me turn my career around. I was playing with the Red Sox. He's watching us hit one day, and so after I took my round of BP and came back in, he said, "Come here, Hawk." He says, "You got some of the strongest hands I've ever seen on the bat, but you don't know what the hell you're doing." I said, "What are you talking about, Ted? I'm having a pretty good year." He said, "I know it." He said, "But you don't know what you're doing." He said, "When you step in that batter's box, you better have a sense of control." He said, "Because if you don't have it, that guy 60 feet, 6 inches away is probably going to have it." He said, "And what you got to do is you got to try to force the action, control the action a little bit by moving around in that box." Because I used to stand in that box exactly the same place against a hard-throwing right-hander or a soft-tossing left-hander. And that doesn't even make any sense. So Jim Palmer was a good example. I couldn't hit him with a tennis racket because I stood off the plate and back in the box. And finally, I moved up on top of the plate and up in front of the box. And after I did that, he couldn't get me out. And why? Because it was a sense of control here. And that's the beauty of the game. And Ted moved around in the box. And Ted, probably certainly in the category of maybe the greatest hitter that ever lived. And one of the reasons why, but after he told me that and I started moving around, I almost won a Triple Crown. If I didn't get hemorrhoids.
Those damn hemorrhoids.
That's right.
How often do you hear that? I would have won the Triple Crown
I got
with
the
those
damn
hemorrhoids.
Yeah, I was leading the league in hitting. I was leading the league in RBIs, and I was second in home runs to Frank Howard.
Was that 68?
Mm-hmm. And then when I got the hemorrhoids, I couldn't even sit down. Yeah, Yastrzemski used to pick me up, and I couldn't even sit in the car seat. I had to stoop down in the front seat there, and I just couldn't sleep or anything else. So I went. I still got the RBI thing, but I didn't. I wound up hitting like 7th or 8th in the league.
What's your favorite story? Batting glove? Inventing the batting glove? Is it inventing the batting glove?
Well, that was just, by accident. We were playing the Yankees, and I was platooning. I was a kid, and they had a hard-throwing right-hander named Jim Coates who was going to pitch that game. So Sammy Esposito and Gino Cimoli and Ted Bosefield and I went out and played golf. We played 27 holes that day. And then we went right to the ballpark after the 27 holes, and I was taking BP, and I had a blister right here on my ring finger. But I remembered I had my golf glove up in the clubhouse. So I went up and got it. And the first time I went to the plate in the top of the first inning, Yankees were all over me. I mean, I can't say the words. They call
you can say whatever you want.
No, I can't say it because I don't like those words. Anyway, so Whitey hung me a curveball, and I hit it right over that 423 sign there in Kansas City. And then they made a pitching change, and Thad Tillotson was pitching in like the 7th inning, and he hung me a slider, and I hit it probably close to 500. I hit it over in Sam's parking lot. So the next day, the Yankees, they used to have to walk. The clubhouse for the visitors was up above third base, and they used to have to walk down the thing to get to the field. They all came down. They had red batting gloves, the red golf gloves. So Mickey had them go out and buy a couple of dozen red golf gloves, and that started the whole thing.
Who knew?
That's good. Yeah, no one knew.
Also, only man alive. Well, not the only man alive. Fired Tony La Russa.
Well, that was
GM as the GM. Well,
I didn't want the GM job. Reinsdorf, I said. He asked me to evaluate the club, and I evaluated a lot of people. And so he said, "Well, you didn't put the GM name there. Who's going to take that?" I said, "Well, you own the ball club." I said, "That's your thing." And he says, "Well, I want a name in there. I want you to put a name in there." And I knew where he was going with it. So the next day, I put my name in there, and he hired me as GM. And it was a huge mistake because I told him, I said, "I'm not going to do this unless I can make the decisions." I said, "I don't want you making any of the decisions." And Jerry at that time, Jerry's changed now. Jerry is not the same Jerry that I came to the White Sox. He and Brooks Boyer. Brooks Boyer has really changed Jerry. And Jerry at one time, his word, as you know, he loves you.
He's been great to me. Brooks Boyer, by the way, is the chief marketing guy.
Yeah.
For the White Sox.
And
those that don't know,
he's Brooks. Let's just say Jerry's word was his bond, and it's not that way anymore. So, and people I get a lot of my fan mail. They ask me, do you think that Jerry should sell the ball club? And up until a couple of years now, I would have said no. Now I would say yes. He's pushing 90. He just turned February 25th, I think, 87.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see him get out because I don't think he's enjoying it now, especially after the season we had last year, and probably going to have another bad season this year. And but Brooks has really not done Jerry any favors, put it that way.
AJ thinks they're going to make the playoffs.
He's wrong. I hope they do. I still pull for them,
Of course.
The fans, But at one time, before Brooks got there, that was one of the greatest work places to go to every day. The atmosphere was great people. And Brooks was there for a couple of years, and things turned around. And now there are a lot of people who are still working there who are great people, and they do a great job. But there's no fun for them anymore. Some of the best guys we had, left because of Brooks.
Can we get a game where you and I do a game together again? Can we figure that out? Is there anybody that can make this happen? Pick a random game in like July. Will you and I do a game together? Because I got to do a full game. It was awesome. It was Hawk Day too, I believe. It was against the Cubs.
That was the last time
I also saved your life.
Well, the thing about it is that, and I'm not going to get in depth on it now. I'm going to wait
to your book, to your third book.
He's going to roast you in the book.
That's fine. I'm used to. I've been hearing this for 30 years. I'm used to him roasting me.
But no, people, said, how you like retirement and everything, and I'll call occasionally. I'll call them back and I'll tell them I didn't retire. I got retired.
Happens to all of us at some point.
Exactly. Well, I got fired is what it boils down to.
It happens to all of us.
And I'm sure that they will deny that, but it's what led up to that and everything else is going to be interesting.
Did you know the game I did, there was a foul ball and I stuck it right here.
You saved his life?
The ball was coming. He never saw it coming. He was all locked into his stats. And there's the foul ball by, I don't know, Anthony Rizzo.
I'll tell you one thing. I had the ball right here. I had it right here. Now, he's got better hands than I had. But, let me put it this way. I became the first Red Sox right fielder to play a whole year without making an error, because that's the toughest right field in baseball. Now somebody else did it a couple of years ago.
Mookie? Was it Mookie or Jackie?
Oh, if Jackie was really, really Mookie. Those two guys, great. They're much better players than I was, that was the first year that I went airless out there that had a right fielder.
Give us your prediction on I want the White Sox prediction first, and then I want who's going to win the World Series this year. Because I have to make predictions, and whatever you say, I might have to go.
Well, and who's going to win the Central, even more importantly, too, for White Sox fans?
Central, they got a great manager. Tito. I don't know Pedro. I've never heard of him. We got new coaches. We got a new manager. We don't have Abreu, which really doesn't bother me that much, because you walk into yourself. You played on some clubs that had great camaraderie.
Yeah. And some that had bad camaraderie too.
Yeah. So you know the difference. But the point is that you walk in our clubhouse. So when I played, you walked in the clubhouse, you knew who won the game or lost the game. Today, it's a different thing. You walk in our clubhouse today, and I told Reinsdorf this, you couldn't tell who won or lost, because you got guys over here on their social media. Social media has become a worse evil, so to speak, to me, because they take it out to the dugout with them a lot, and I would just absolutely love to see them get rid of Wi-Fi in the clubhouse. And they're not going to do that because the players would revolt.
Yeah.
And you'd have all the Latin. We have more Latin players on our roster than any team. And I'm very partial to blacks, and I'm very partial to Latins, because I know how tough it was, as you do. Those guys had it really tough coming up, trying to get to the big leagues, especially in my era, because there's a lot of prejudice back in those days. In fact, in the minor leagues, we'd take these bus rides, and we'd stop to get a hamburger someplace, and they couldn't even go in a restaurant. And then we'd go to like St. Petersburg. They couldn't stay in the same hotels that we stayed at. And that used to really piss me off. And so these guys today, with that Latin influence, they congregate in the back. When Abreu was there, in the back of the clubhouse, in the corner, and all of the Caucasian guys are over here. But the Latins are listening to music. These guys are on their social media, And
Scott, that's Scott. He's one of those guys.
On my social media.
You're the social media guy.
Well, I think that, as I said, Manfred, there's been 10 commissioners in baseball, and I've been through 8 of them.
Wow.
The only 2 I missed were A.B. Happy Chandler and Kennesaw Mountain Landis. When I came in, Ford Frick was the commissioner, and I've gone through all of them except for the first 2. And Manfred, to me, is, it's like he's trying to reinvent the wheel. And the game really doesn't need reinventing. It's such a beautiful game as is. Now you can't put shifts on guys. That's ridiculous. Trying to tell managers today are having to manage a game on certain teams. They don't know. They don't know because they never played with those rules, that set of rules, and they're having to manage a game. I know Art Howe, when he was managing Oakland with Billy Beane. They talk about Billy Beane and all his things. What they forget to mention. Mulder, Zito, and Hudson. I mean, I
had to face those dudes. Those
that's 60 wins right
Those dudes are
there,
good.
But he had to make. Now, Art didn't tell me this. One of the players did. I think it was Ray Fosse told me that. He had to call Billy Beane because Billy Beane a lot of times didn't watch the games live. He went home and watched them on TV. And he had to call him to ask him if he could bunt because that was when the no bunting and no stealing of the bases was in vogue.
Moneyball.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy.
Okay. White Sox this year. I want to hear you say it. White Sox are going to win the division.
Cleveland's going to win the division.
White Sox going to make a wild card.
Hopefully.
See, I'm not that dumb.
I am.
I don't say you're dumb. I wouldn't be surprised. I know, like many others, last season was a disaster for the White Sox.
Dumpster fire last year.
I was with what 32 years with the White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
It was by far the worst year we ever had.
Wow.
And there was just no camaraderie. There was nothing. And even Abreu said it after he got traded to Houston. He said, we just weren't a team. We just were not a family. And even you said that when you came up there. Because that's one of the first things you look for as a veteran player. I don't judge a manager on wins and losses. I judge them on how hard they play. If they pop it up, do they bust their ass down the line, or do they just trot a few steps and then take a right turn? And if you get a team that busts their ass all the time and play hard, you got a good manager there. But I fired Tony because Tony was getting killed by the fans every time he stuck his head out of that dugout. I mean, they were just absolutely destroying him. And Tony turned out to be possibly certainly one of, maybe the greatest manager that ever lived. The only guy that won more games than he did was the old guy who owned the club way back when.
He's a guy. Connie Mack.
Connie Mack.
Yep.
But he's like my iPhone.
Yeah.
But
me too.
Kratz has a question for you, and he wants your honest opinion. Are you mad that I have more career home runs than you do? Eric Kratz, the guy with the hat.
Let him ask it.
Well,
he typed this in there. He said that I have more home runs than you. Are you mad about it? Does that hurt your feelings?
You had about 3 or 4 more at bats than I had.
Well, it doesn't matter. He didn't ask who are you mad I had more at bats. He asked.
The last 2 years I played before I broke my leg and dislocated my ankle. I did the same thing Tiger did in that thing. I broke my leg, dislocated my ankle. The last 2 years I played, I had 65 home runs and drove in over 200.
It's good 10 years for me.
But no, the only thing we actually home runs. What we always prided ourselves on was RBIs.
Those don't matter anymore. Those don't care about those anymore.
I know it.
No, those don't matter.
I'm telling you, that's what I'd rather have 100 RBIs than hit 40 home runs. That's just the way it was. In fact, I had 3 league records. Dennis Whitelaw broke the league record in home runs down there, which has since been toppled. And then in the Eastern League, I had 38 home runs and 138 RBIs in 140 games. But the thing is I was more proud of the 138 RBIs than I was for the 38 home runs. So the game is changed, as I said, to a degree, and it's even being changed more now by current management. And, I think that, you take the Latin element. Those kids, when they down in the islands, they don't know what analytics is. They don't know what swing angles are. They see ball, they hit ball. They have fun playing it. And you'll notice if you're watching TV, most people in the dugout who are laughing are Latins. They enjoy playing the game. You get our guys, and the money has, when I played baseball, the minimum salary was $6,000. Today it's $700,000. And I made more money my first 3 years in the big leagues playing golf, shooting pool, and arm wrestling than I did playing Major League Baseball. Yeah, it was just, in fact, and then when I became baseball's first free agent in 1967, when Finley got upset with me and released me, he released me in the midst of what they call the greatest pennant race going on, where you had the White Sox, Red Sox, Tigers, and Twins all within one game of each other with several weeks to go. And we had to beat Minnesota on a Saturday and Sunday. We had to beat Dean Chance and Jim Cott. And those 2 games, 2 Cy Young Award winners. And we did. When I say we did, Yaz did. Yaz went 7 for 8. And one of the writers asked me, he said, well, you hit behind Yaz, didn't you? I said, yeah. He said, well, why the hell did they keep pitching to him? Which was a good question. I'd be sitting on the circle, and Hawk was my alter ego. He was my go-to pressure guy. I couldn't do it. Hawk could. And so I'd say, okay, Hawk, let's get ready. They're going to go around Yaz, and then boom, there's a double. Boom, there's a home run. And I'll never forget one of the most poignant moments in my sporting life. I had 2 of them. And we were playing the Cardinals in Fenway in the World Series, and they brought in a little left-hander named Joe Horner to pitch to him. And he was sneaky. Carl comes over to me, and he'd never faced him. He comes over to me. He says, you know this guy? I said, yeah. I said, he's a foot quicker than he looks, because he came right out of his uniform this way. And he said, well, I got no more than that. And I said, well, that's all I got for you. So we went over to the dugout, and Sal Magley was the pitching coach, and Frank Melzone had scouted the Cardinals, and he says, starts all left-handed power hitters off with a low fastball to get ahead, which is really not a good thing to do anyway. Left-handed hitters predominantly low ball hitters. Anyway, he goes back and gets in the box, and I'd faced Horner a lot, and I knew he was tough. But he threw him a low fastball, and yes, he did about 15 rows over that bullpen out there in right center field in Fenway. And I'll never forget, he's going around first base, and I said, Hawk, if that's what it takes to be a great hitter, we'll never get there. And then the second most poignant thing was when Nicholas wanted me to go over and qualify. Jack and I had been playing a lot of golf down in Lagos in Miami. And this was in 72 when he was going after the Grand Slam. So we played one morning, come in and have some lunch, and he says, you're going to go over and try to qualify for the Open? And I said, no. He said, well, you should. You're playing too good. So if Jack Nicklaus says that, you got to think seriously about it. So I got the papers, filled them out, went over there, and I played great. I led All-American qualifiers. I shot 70-68. We qualified at Ghislaine, which was the sister course to Muirfield. And then he and I are going to play the practice round the day before the tournament starts. So we're going to play Bert Yancey and Tom Weiskopf. And we're walking out, and Jack says, don't say a word to anybody. Don't say a word to the media. Don't say a word to the players, nobody. He said, but Barb and I were playing tennis last night, and I got a crick in my neck. And you can't play golf with a crick in your neck. You can't swing a bat with a crick in your neck. So anyway, we play, and he's having a tough time of it. And we get to the 18th hole, and I hit a big drive on 18 there at Muirfield, which is a tough par 4. And I hit my next shot into the bunker, and Jack had hit the green in 2. He had about a 25-footer, and I bladed mine out of the bunker over the green, so I'm out of the hole. And he had not worked on a putt all day long. So he looked at me, and he says, you want me to work on this? I said, yeah, I need the money, because we had a couple of presses going. So the only putt he worked on all day, and it was one of these. It was down this way, that way, and back to the hole. And I'm standing about where Scott is from Jack, and he's here. He's over the ball. And he hits it, and he looks at me, and he goes, Hawk, that could be center cut. That ball goes, shoo, shoo, shoo. I mean, right in the middle of the hole. And I said to myself, Hawk, if that's what it takes to be a great golfer, we'll never get there. But it's been an interesting life. I mean, it really has been an interesting life for me, and it's all attributable to my Greek wife. You know, I'll tell you, when you marry a Greek, you lose a lot of your masculinity. And I had a very bad temper. I turned down the Red Sox manager's job twice, and I turned down the Cleveland manager's job once. And they asked me why I turned them down. Dick O'Connell, who was vice president, or president and vice president, and he said, "We want you to take over the ball club." He said, "We're going to fire the DJ, Darrell Johnson." And I said, "I'm not going to do it." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because you don't want a guy managing a ball club with a temper like I got." I said, players would find out quickly, and
We had Ozzy.
What?
We had Ozzy.
Ozzy. In all my years with the White Sox, Ozzy was the best manager we ever had. You know why? Because you
had good players.
That helped. But if it hadn't been for Ozzy and you, we wouldn't have this ring
Well,
right here.
I appreciate that.
Because he came, we got him. I called Kenny Williams, and when San Francisco let him go, I said, "Are you guys thinking about AJ?" He said, "Well, Ozzy doesn't like him." He said, "We talked about him. Ozzy doesn't like him." Because they had Dustin Hermanson, I think, and we had just gotten him. Yep. And Hermanson didn't like AJ either. So anyway, I said, the only thing AJ does is beat you. That's all he does is beat you. So we hung up the phone. He called me back that afternoon. He says, "You know, I've been thinking about what you said about AJ." He says, "I think I ought to call his agent." I said, "No, call AJ. Talk to AJ." So he talked to him and got him there, signed him, and the rest is history. We went on and won the World Series. We went 9-1 in postseason. Won 99 games during the regular season. Went 9-1 in postseason. And I wasn't there. I didn't go to Houston, but one of the guys was telling me, I think it was one of the coaches, Super Joe Ewing, said that he was standing close to you guys or whatever it was, and Reinsdorf was there, Kenny was there, and AJ, and they were toasting. You know,
no, it was Ozzy.
Was it Ozzy?
Yeah, the four of us were at a table.
Well, whatever it was.
After the game, after we clinched, the four of us were sitting at a table.
And they said, I said I wasn't there, but they said if it hadn't been for AJ, we wouldn't have won it. And it's the truth, because of the fact he came up with some big hits. I never will forget that hit against the Dodgers. He wasn't supposed to hit that home run, but he did. You know. But the thing about him was, I've got two rules in baseball over my whole life. The first rule in baseball is you got to catch the ball. Defense, you got to catch the ball. You can't give the other team 30 outs when you're getting 27. And the second rule is don't mess with Joe West. You mess with Joe West, you're going to have a tough time.
Unless you're AJ and you mess back.
That's right. You got to get him back, though. When he does something to you, you messed with Joe West when he threw Burley out of the game and you called him the worst umpire, he needed to retire. And then he went out and umpired like 2,000 more games.
And Joe lives up in Claremont now, and we got to be tight. And first of all, he's umpired more games than anybody in the history of the game. He's going to go in the Hall of Fame. You don't umpire all those games, but don't mess with Joe. You know, and that's how I judge. I watch on my iPad some of the calls that's being made today. It's unbelievable. There's no accountability. They got to have some accountability to umpires, because these guys are missing plays. It's just ridiculous.
Well, they have a backup plan. It's called instant replay in case they're wrong.
Well, I saw one this morning. If you catch her, I forget who he was. It was a foul tip or whatever, and he puts his glove like this he never turned around. He puts his glove like this to get another ball from the umpire, and so the umpire took a few seconds there, so he dropped his glove as the umpire was throwing the ball down, and he threw him out of the game.
Yep.
Real Muto, we talked about this already.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Threw him out. I mean, I've never. You ever seen that?
What was his name? Randy. No, I've never seen that. I told you.
Kratzy knows him. Randy.
Oh, we're just gonna leave it
Right?
there.
Yeah.
It keeps calling it.
But
Randy. He yeah. Then I told my Joe West when Joe West kicked me out of a spring training game. So it's all good. I'm just gonna hold
Yeah, he
it.
topped it.
So before we let you go, Hawk,
Yeah.
one last thing. You have a lot of sayings that you've had over the years. Put it on the board, can of corn.
Yeah.
All of them. What?
He gone.
He gone. But what is it? Strap it down.
Sit back, relax, and strap it
There
down.
you-
White Sox baseball coming your way.
What's your favorite one? Put it on the board.
Yeah, and that I used to say that stuff. You know, Krista was my daughter. You know, Lisa, his wife, and our daughter roomed together at Florida State, and she was a terrific diver. In fact, the diving school that she went to over here, not too far from where we live, told me, the coach there, he had 2 Olympians, and he said that Krista had the most talent of any diver that he ever taught. And she'd go off that 10-meter board or 3-meter board, whatever they go, 1.5, 2.5, and she'd hit it, and I'd go, yes, when, she'd come up. And then I think it was the Big Hurt when he first joined us. He was just killing the ball. Frank Thomas, to me, is the best in my career, the best right-handed hitter. You had 3 of them. Best right-handed hitter I ever saw. You had Frank, you had Manny Ramirez, and you had Miguel Cabrera. Those 3 guys were the best right-handed hitters that I ever saw. The best left-handed hitter I ever saw was Yastrzemski.
Oh, I thought you were going to say me.
Yaz was the best clutch hitter and also best left fielder I've ever seen to this day. He was just a wonderful player, and he didn't think anything about it. And Hawk really came out because Yaz didn't have that kind of personality that he wanted to be media friendly, and he very seldom talked to the media that much. In fact, when the game was over, he used to go in Vince Orlando's room and sit down and stay away. But sometimes he'd talk to him. But we're in Chicago and he's in a funk, and I hid behind him. So he said, "What are you doing for breakfast in the morning?" And I knew where he was going with it. I said, "Nothing." He said, "Come on up, let's have some breakfast." Because I had him down. I knew where his hands were supposed to be. I knew, in relationship to his hat and everything. So I go up. He said, "What do you want for breakfast?" I said, "Just give me some eggs and bacon, and orange juice and milk." He said, "Okay." So I went up to his suite the next morning, and he had it all there, a big table. You know what he was having for breakfast? Pizza and Beaujolais wine.
Wait. He had pizza and wine for breakfast?
For breakfast.
How many hits he get?
I don't know. We got him straightened out. He's, But,
so was it the pizza and wine or your hitting lessons?
Well, Yaz was amazing. He could drink after a ball game.
And before, I guess.
Apparently before the game.
No, that was a night game.
Oh, okay. It was a special occasion.
Yeah. So, but he could sit there and drink, 6 or 8 beers and get up. You'd never know he had a beer. Frank
High tolerance.
Frank Howard was my roommate when I was at Washington. He was 6'8", 303 pounds with a 36-inch waist. He's the strongest man I've ever seen. I mean, I have never seen. I know a lot of strong guys. We are playing in Minnesota, and we went to Duff's after the game, and that was the local hangout where a lot of the players went. And his sister had come in from Milwaukee for the weekend, and so we go into Duff's, and all the tables were taken, so we sat at the bar, and I looked over as we were sitting down, and there were 3 big guys, like 270, 280, 300 pounds. And I figured they were, Viking football players. So anyway, we sit down and the music starts playing, and one of those guys got up and came over and asked his sister to dance. But before that, when Frank came in and sat down, I heard one of them say, "You don't look so big and bad to me," like that, you know, and one of those things. So anyway, he got up and came over and asked Frank's sister to dance. She said, "I'm sorry, I don't dance." So about 5-10 minutes later, he gets up, he grabs her by the shoulder, turns her around, and says, "Come on, honey, let's dance." Hondo grabbed him with his left hand right here, picked him up off the ground. Guy had to weigh 270 at least. Slammed him back down in that seat. He said, "Okay, I know what you guys, I've been listening to you." He says, "I'm gonna give you one of two choices. You either get the hell out of here and we'll break your bleeping necks, all three of you." So they looked at each other and they got up and they left the place. And he's and besides that, he's one of the sweetest guys you ever want to meet. I mean, you know,
He was.
I talk to him occasionally. He's living right outside of Baltimore, but I stay in touch with some of the guys. Calavito, you know, Rocky lost a leg to cancer. Carlton Fest is not in good shape. Jim Gentile, he's living, I think, in Des Moines. And these are guys that I played with, and I learned something from all of them, like especially with Rocky, because Rocky was the ultimate competitor. I mean, you know, if you're on his team and you popped it up or grounded out and then bust your behind down the line, when you got back to that dugout, he'd grab you by the jersey and tell him, "You do that again, and I'm gonna kick your ass." You know, and he could do it. You know, and he's the guy that got me to sign autographs because we were playing the Yankees. That I think it was that same night I hit the 2 home runs off Whitey and Tillerson. And in Kansas City, in that old ballpark, when you walked out the door, the fans were right there. I mean, they were 4, 5, 10 feet. They were right there. And I had this party I was going to, and so I was pushing some kids out of the way to go to the parking lot. All of a sudden, I felt somebody grab me behind the thing here, and Hockey grabbed me, pulled me back in the clubhouse, and said, "Let me tell you something, Hockey. So one day you get a chance to be a hell of a player, but if I ever see you push a kid, we'll get an ace. I'm gonna kick your ass." And he probably could have done it. Not many guys could, but he was one of them that probably could have done it. So it's been an eventful thing.
Yeah.
You've had a life. You've had a little bit of a life.
Yeah.
Well, Hawk, we appreciate it.
Thanks for stopping by, Hawk. Yeah, we appreciate the time. It's good to see you.
Lunch, because he's not gonna buy you anything.
No, hey, there we go, Kratzy. You missed it when I was sitting down. There were stories about dinners being paid for, and he's like, you know, it's funny. He's like, hey, Jay, he just can't get his hand in his pocket.
I got alligator arms and sharks in my pocket. And they say, do get down there. The shark, oh, no, I don't want to stick my hand in my pocket.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks for swinging by.
Yep.
AJ's going to take you.
Well, Robert and Patrick.